Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Today, in preparation of Halloween, we have the best VR horror games. Now what actually makes a game the best is very subjective, so I'll be breaking these games off into a bunch of different categories, such as free games, co-op titles, the best overall campaign, the overall spookiest, and finally some highly recommended titles that I'm reluctant to get around to myself because VR horror is just not my favorite genre. For the games that I have played, I will be including both a fear factor and overall game score. But I want to know your favorite VR horror game in the comments right now. And there are of course links and timestamps to everything I'll be discussing, but before we jump in, this video is sponsored by Kiwi Design, one of my favorite sites for VR accessories. They recently released some new Quest 2 headphones that promise to pack some extra bass and increase your audio experience. They currently have my favorite Quest 2 Elite strap with battery pack, and there's plenty of other accessories like enhanced controller grips, replacement facial covers, link cables, and much more. There's a link down in the description, and don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 5% off and to help support this channel. Okay, so for those of you not looking to break the bank, let's start this list off with some free horror games. First up is the absolutely stunning looking Propagation VR. It's 30 minutes of intense zombie and creature filled shooter action. There's a leaderboard and 4 separate difficulty modes, giving you a reason to keep coming back. And if you're too scared and want to bring a friend along, there's a $10 co-op DLC. Just for the atmosphere, blood and guts, and graphics alone, this game is worth checking out. But if you're looking for more of a storyline in your free VR horror games, we have Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft. Dagon is a 3D narrative experience based on the cult classic short story of the same name. It's a 30-minute, fully voice-acted narrative experience that allows you to experience the Cthulhu mythos and the horrific worlds of H.P. Lovecraft, and the title jokingly warns that side effects may include insomnia, delirium, and acute cosmic horror. So if you're looking for an immersive environment and rich narrative, this is your go-to game. But if you're more of a jump scare type of person, we have Polar Dread, which is like a Five Nights at Freddy's clone for your Quest 2. You'll be throwing objects, crouching under tables, and rummaging around in the dark looking for batteries, all while being hunted by Slush and his gang. Now this title is currently still in development, so if you tried it in the past, you might want to go check it out again to see what's been added. And next on our list of free games, we have Nevrosa Prelude. This is a room-scale puzzle horror game which cleverly redirects your walking locomotion. It's filled with original puzzles, a dark atmosphere, creepy creatures that follow you around, but luckily no jump scares. You could expect to die multiple times throughout your journey, and there's even separate endings to this nightmare. And another similar title is Shattered Lights. This also features ever-changing room-scale locomotion, where you proceed through a series of brutally dark, ever-continuing, claustrophobia-inducing rooms. This journey through a seemingly abandoned underground medical facility will test both your flashlight and your sanity. It heavily focuses on immersion, with both lighting and sound at the forefront. It's a truly unique experience that's definitely worth trying, especially because it's free. Okay, so let's move into some games that can definitely be a bit less scary because you get to bring some friends along. First up in the co-op horror genre is After the Fall. Definitely not that scary. It's very much run and gun Left 4 Dead in VR, but every once in a while when the snowbreed surrounds you or starts climbing on the ceiling and walls, it can send a chill down your spine. So unless you're extremely squeamish, I doubt you'll find this game scary, but you will most likely find it extremely fun. It's got an absolutely addictive gameplay loop, plenty of weapons and skins to unlock and upgrade, and it's easy to understand why people are still playing it months after its release. Now, if you're looking to up that co-op fear factor, we have Phasmophobia. Becoming a team of ghost hunters can be absolutely terrifying and equally rewarding. I've honestly never been so scared and had so much fun at the same time. Now, as you play this game more and more and get desensitized to the scares, you start feeling like a straight up badass ghost hunter, outright tempting the spirits to come after you. It's a no-brainer if you're looking for a co-op horror game. Now, a very similar title with a unique spin to it is Devour. Once again, you're a team of up to 4 players that's racing against the clock to break a demonic hold over cult members. In order to do this, you'll have to find key ritual items, but fiends are currently stalking you, and your only means of defense are either hiding or your UV flashlight. Each level and playthrough is randomized, with items having different spawn locations, some paths being locked, and an AI randomizer that always makes the game unpredictable. There's a player progression system where you can unlock perks, and it's only $4.99, so maybe you want to grab a bunch of your friends and give this game a try. Now, speaking of giving games a try with your friends, we have Reiko's Fragments, which isn't exactly a co-op game, but rather a VR versus crowd party style game. The VR player is trying to escape a haunted house, and up to 8 other players can join via their phone, triggering scares, or even controlling demonic entities. So if you're looking for a game that you can play with your friends at a party, and scaring the crap out of everyone is your main focus, this is your go-to title. Now, probably equally as scary, but this time you're working together with your friends, is The Forest. This is one of my favorite horror survival titles, which has you crash landing on an island full of mutated cannibals. While it may seem peaceful at times, scavenging for resources, hunting animals, and even building full structures, there's always the threat of an attack looming from these creatures. And once they get up close and personal, it is absolutely terrifying. You also want to avoid all the caves in this game. Okay, so finally on the co-op/multiplayer list, we have After Dark VR. This is basically VR's version of Dead by Daylight. There's a whole bunch of unique environments, each with a specialized enemy, like a killer clown or axe murderer. Survivors have to traverse through environments like a giant cornfield, an abandoned prison, or even a deserted suburban neighborhood. They'll need to work together, unlock doors, turn on generators, and just basically escape, all while one player is hunting them down. VR makes this traditional formula that much more intense, and I actually found myself physically laying down on the floor and hiding in a virtual bathtub while playing this game. Okay, so let's move into the single player campaigns, and I've actually separated them between those that are more focused on horror and those that are more action oriented. And first on the horror list is Westworld Awakening. Based on HBO's TV show of the same name, this game interweaves an excellent storyline taking place during the events of season 2. The storytelling is top notch and seamlessly plays into the game's mechanics. While most of the time you'll just be exploring, looking for hidden objects, and solving some minor puzzles, you'll have to do it while being stalked throughout the entire game. There's a bunch of fun, unexpected twists and turns along the way, and I highly recommend it to fans of the TV show Westworld, and for those who enjoy the gameplay of the title Outlast. Now you get a similar experience from Jurassic World Aftermath, but instead of hiding from a bunch of robotic hosts, you're being hunted by dinosaurs. It's the same cat and mouse type of gameplay, but now you're in the world of Jurassic Park. The game's beautiful from start to finish, featuring some comic book style graphics that really pop in VR, and when one of these dinosaurs finally catches up with you, it can be pretty damn terrifying. But definitely not as scary as our next title, Resident Evil 7. You'll find yourself trapped in a house of psychotic individuals, and at times, that's the least of your worries. Sony really pushed the angle of VR lets you get things up close and personal, and it really delivers some chills in this game. Even between these horrific moments, the overall environment is just an outright creep fest, and some people might not be able to handle this title. Similar to our next game, Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife. Now this title does move us back towards those cat and mouse mechanics, where you'll be hiding from different entities, but as a recently deceased character who slowly gains Wraith-like abilities, you'll be getting new powers to interact with the world around you, and slowly discover the story of what actually happened. Now if you're looking for some more psychological horror, we have the Blair Witch. Get lost in the woods as your past mental traumas begin to manifest into horrible creatures. These cursed woods will have you questioning your sanity, but luckily you have a trusty dog with you to help lighten things up. And continuing with psychological horrors, we have Layers of Fear. Take on the role of an artist who's descended into madness and paint yourself one horrific portrait. It's a walking simulator filled with jump scares and some truly horrific moments as your character blends together real life events with his psychosis. I received one of the worst ever jump scares playing this game, so if you see a sign that says don't turn around, take the advice. Okay, so those games were all pretty creepy and maybe a bit too much for some to handle, so our next titles are putting a gun in your hand and cranking up the action. First on that list is The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which in my opinion is the perfect blend of horror, high intensity immersion, gameplay mechanics, and compelling storytelling. It's creepy enough that I never completely feel at ease, stabbing walkers through the skull never gets old, and the storyline takes some shocking turns. It's all around solid for both the horror and non-horror fans out there. Just like our next title, Resident Evil 4. This classic Capcom title has been ported to VR extremely well. There's tons of action, plenty of unlockable weapons, an absolutely crazy storyline, a lengthy campaign, and a handful of truly eerie moments. It's an easy recommendation to all but the most squeamish out there. But if you want to lean a bit more into the scary side, we have Lies Beneath. Sure, you'll get some weapons and mow down a bunch of enemies, but it also has some really creepy scenes and some truly immersive environments. The comic book art style once again works well in VR, and it's a great title if you're looking for action but want something on the scarier side. Okay, let's move into some horror roguelites, which are the absolute best games if you're looking for some spooky immersive environments. First on that list is The Persistence, which has you on a derelict space station where the cloning machines are malfunctioning and spewing out monstrous creatures. It's as beautiful as it is terrifying, features a lot of risk versus reward, which definitely adds to the overall tension, and it's one of the most unique games I've played in quite some time. Having the option to attempt to sneak up on enemies to basically harvest them is such an excellent gameplay mechanic that works even better in VR. And in similar fashion, we have Indeath Unchained. This is an archery shooter journey into the afterlife. The ever-changing gothic cathedrals floating amongst the clouds in purgatory might just put a chill down your spine, but if they fail to, all the hell-themed creatures will get the job done. You're always on edge in this game due to how easy it is for you to be killed, and every other aspect of the title just helps to increase the overall anxiety. Monsters may teleport right next to you, there's a host of spooky sound effects, and the brutal difficulty level will have you guessing every move you make. This is one of my favorite quest titles, so I highly recommend you check it out. Okay, let's detour into mods for a minute, and I am going to keep this list short but sweet. First up is the Bioshock mod for Half-Life Alyx. This is a faithful reconstruction of Rapture City, utilizing enhanced assets from the original game. While it's not actually a remake, but rather a blending of the worlds of Bioshock and Half-Life Alyx. It feels seamless, it's absolutely stunning, deeply immersive, and pretty terrifying at times. If you have Half-Life Alyx, you have to play this game, just like if you have Alien Isolation, you have to try the Mother VR mod. This list featured a lot of other cat and mouse style horror games, but nothing competes with Alien Isolation. For an 8-year-old title, it still looks absolutely fantastic. The campaign's 10 hours long, and not much gets scarier than getting up close and personal with the Xenomorph. While the mod's definitely not perfect, it is an experience I highly recommend. And finally, we have PCVR mods for Resident Evil 2, 3, 7, and 8. Again, they're definitely not perfect, and they're still in development, but if you enjoyed these games and wanted to experience them in PCVR, now you can. I personally haven't tried them, because I usually like to wait for mods to be close to a full release, but I've heard a lot of praise from other people. Okay, so finally, I have a list of a few games that I never got around to playing, mainly because I'm a scared little baby, but people always recommend these titles. First up is Dreadhalls. Dreadhalls has you trapped in a massive dungeon, and your only weapon against the creatures in it is stealth. The levels are procedurally generated, so they'll change every time you play. You have to listen to your surroundings in order to survive. I've always heard how good this game is, especially the atmosphere and creepy audio, but I'm yet to try it for myself, just like the developer's newer title, Cosmo Dread. In similar fashion, you're now on a dying spaceship filled with nightmarish creatures. In order to survive, you'll have to explore, collect resources, craft weapons, and finally, you get to fight back this time. Now, this roguelite will help keep the tension high, with both the immersive environments and death looming around every corner. Now, our next title just received a full overhaul, specifically in time for Halloween. The Exorcist Legion VR is 5 levels of being haunted by different demonic entities. You'll have to explore, solve puzzles, and slowly reveal the storyline. I've always heard how absolutely terrifying this game is, so I haven't been too keen on experiencing it for myself. Just like our final title, Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. The king of jump scares is here, and I want no part of it. I played the original flat screen version of Five Nights at Freddy's forever ago, and decided that was enough for me. A game filled with creepy animatronics, paranoia-inducing, always having to look over your shoulder mechanics, and jump scares that can make you throw the controllers are not exactly what I'm looking for, but I know this game is an absolute fan favorite. Now, that was the list of VR's best horror games. If I missed the title you recommend, please drop it down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, consider subscribing, and as always, I will see you guys on next time.